at $150 a square
Call
foot.
this meeting to order.
That's easy.
And in your agenda items, councillors, there's two changes. We're deferring the grant and aid to a later date. And we are adding under 12C, FCM. And with that, looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor English, Councillor Orlando, all in favor? Carries. And the adoption of the minutes of April 11th, regular council meeting. Councillor English, Councillor Orlando, all in favor? And business arising from those minutes. Any business, councillors? None. All right, we're going into a public hearing here. And this is for zoning amendment bylaw 2031, 9070 and 1000 Bedby Road. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act. At this public hearing, the public will be allowed to make representation to council, and all persons present who believe their interests are affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given the opportunity to address council or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. Those of you who wish to speak concerning this proposed bylaw should commence your address to council by clearly stating your name and address. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaw. And before we begin, may I ask the corporate officer to confirm that all due process was followed according to the Local Government Act?
Yes, Your Worship, it was for bylaw 2031, 970 and 1000 Bedby Road. We did not receive any public submissions.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to call 3 times for anyone who wishes to speak. For the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make a representation to council? For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to make a representation to council? And finally, for the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make a representation to council? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close this public hearing. Councillor English, seconder. Councillor Orlando, all in favor? Then I'm looking for a motion for third reading for this zoning.
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
Okay, for third reading, seconder, Councillor Duke. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Selvick, I forgot to ask you for a brief description for the public of what we're talking about here today. My apologies.
It's okay.
This is for, do you want to just tell us what it's about? No.
I can speak to it.
Well, the public
Okay.
hearing is actually closed,
Yeah,
so we
so-
should just let it go.
Probably should.
Okay, my mistake, my apologies.
That's okay.
It's pretty.
Okay,
I'll answer any questions if there are any, Your Worship.
okay. So just to let the public know, this is an update on the Big Eddy properties that were put into kind of abeyance when Interior Health decided that there was a water problem over in the Big Eddy, which council and staff worked really, really hard to get a good grant to improve that water quality and water pressure over in the Big Eddy, and now we're moving it forward today to have that zoning amendment. Go ahead. Did I ask the question?
No, you haven't
Okay.
covered that.
Okay. Ready for the question? All in favor? Carries. Alrighty, moving on to announcements from the mayor. His Worship, Mayor McKee and Councillor Schultz are both at Silga at Sun Peaks. And yesterday, Councillor English, Councillor Orlando, and myself, and Mike Thomas from staff, and Nicole Frico had the pleasure of attending the groundbreaking for ceremony for Mackenzie Village. And that's some new exciting build going up on Nickel Road. And that's it for that. Now we have delegations and presentation. We have the Revelstoke Senior Citizens Housing Society with Pam Doyle and Graham Parker. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Worship and Councillors.
We've requested that the city waive the development permit fees for some construction down at Mount Baby Man. We're putting in a new garbage shed, and Graham's going to speak to the specifics of that. There's some drainage work, there's some new decking, and some railings. And he'll talk about the cost and BC Housing's contribution towards the project. So the reason that we're asking, there's a couple of reasons why we're asking to waive the development permit fee. We had made a request several years ago when we built the garbage shed at Mount Baby Villas. And at that time, the development permit fee was waived in that instance. So just in case you don't know much about Mount Baby Manor and the villas, it's affordable seniors housing. We have 25 apartments in the manor and 16 units at the villas. They're operated under 2 separate operating agreements with BC Housing. The thing with the manor is that in 2019, our society, which is a volunteer society made up of 10 Rotarians or past Rotarians, created in 1984 to run the manor, we're going to become the owners of the manor. And we're not going to be subsidized any longer by BC Housing. So that means that we'll be responsible for all the capital upkeep going to the future. And then we'll probably have to increase rents to help us pay for that. But our intent is to keep it as affordable seniors housing. So it's going to be our challenge. One of the things that BC Housing has committed to is to allow us to keep any money that's left in our capital reserve at that time. So we can keep that as our capital to go forward with. So currently, when we have a surplus in the reserve, we have to return it to BC Housing annually. So if we don't spend it on repairs, it goes back to them. So I just wanted to give you just a sense of what the rents are down at the manor and the villas. The manor, the market rent is $7.24 a month for the larger apartments and $60.61 a month for the single 1-bedrooms. What the average rent paid by the tenants is $4.61, and it ranges in amounts from $270 per month to somebody who's fully subsidized by BC Housing to $658 is the max, and it's capped at the max. So just to give you a sense of the challenges that we're going to be facing in terms of having enough revenue to operate. So BC Housing will continue to own and have us operate the villas, and that operating agreement will continue into the future. So they'll own that, and we're in discussions with them off and on right now about turning the actual property over to the society. Right now we lease the land, and it's about $8,000 a year that we pay to BC Housing. But because we have one building owned by BC Housing, the other units owned by the society, they haven't dealt with that elsewhere in the province, and they're sort of struggling with how to deal with the turnover of the land to us. But that's the intent as well. And then we thought, being entrepreneurial, we'd lease it back to them so they could keep the villas on property, but who knows how that'll go. So I think that's it in a nutshell. I know that you have a big package with pictures of what we want to do and colors and paint chips and everything, dimensions, and I'll turn it over to Graham.
Thanks, Pam. So I think there's a lease and a mortgage, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, so the mortgage also transfers to us in 2019, so we want to make sure that we're in a financially stable position to run the society. And because it's a 1980s building, there are some maintenance issues. There's a lot of things that have come to the end of their life. One of them, for example, was the roof, and so we replaced the roof last year at $470,000. And so this year we're looking to replace all the balconies. So each unit has a balcony, and those balconies, the railings and the steps and the Duradeck, they're all rotting away and become a safety issue. And so we're going to replace all of the decks and the railings and the stairs. And then there's always been a bit of a drainage issue as well. We've got big volumes of basement down below Beverley Manor, and there's a bit of a water issue there. And so we're looking to dig a trench and put bigger drainage in. And with that comes concrete paths. And down on the Downey Street side, there is no concrete path for the residents to come out of their apartments, and so we're looking to put a concrete path down there. And again, with drainage, we have to put in a dry well down there as well. What else are we doing? So, and then the garbage shed as well. So the garbage shed was an attached structure to the building. When we replaced the roof, we made the roof very much more simple. And the old garbage shed, which was causing snow to hang up on the roof, we demolished. And it wasn't sufficient anyway. So we want to put a new garbage shed around the back and have that all enclosed, and it's easy access for the residents from inside the building as well through garbage chutes. But these things don't come cheap, unfortunately. So the deck rental costs are estimated to be $41,500. And the railing replacement costs on each deck are $24,000. And the drainage and concrete work, $24,000. And the garbage shed is going to be $28,000 to $30,000. So we're looking at $117,000 upwards that we want to spend on the man this year and get those essential safety issues out of the way, and then get the state to move on for 2019.
Councilors, any questions?
Thanks, guys, first for looking after this facility, because it's really important to have in the community. What would we be looking at as far as the waiving these fees? I mean, it's going to be a small portion of what you actually need to be spending to get this stuff to happen.
Chris, how much are we looking for to? It's the development and the building permit fees.
I'll let Daniel speak. I can speak to that. Looking at the numbers they provided, roughly $1,000 for the building permit fee and $800 for the development permit.
So possibly we'd be looking at a motion farther on in our package under correspondence. This is covered up.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to comment and thank you for good management, good stewardship down there. I know I visited down there a lot as a community nurse, and it's a really, really lovely facility, and the extension that you put on there is just really beautiful. Nice for our seniors of Revelstoke, and I think it's very fair that you come and ask us. We'll cover it off later on. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, under item 8A, anybody want to bring forward the recommendations of the committee of the whole? Councillor English?
I'll bring that forward, Your Worship. Am I bringing them forward one at a time?
Just one issue.
Just one issue, thank you. That policy A-2, travel expense and professional courses reimbursement be approved.
Seconder? Councillor Orlando? Any discussion? Councillor Orlando?
Your acting worship, I had just a couple questions on the budget for, I guess it would be a question for staff on the budget for staff training. Is that changed in the policy? Is that governed by an annual budget limit, or how does that work?
So, Your Worship, that will be done through each department on their own for their operating budget. And there wasn't, it's the same as it was in the last policy, the actual training. It's just that now you have to fill out a form.
So there's no difference. I just was wondering the financial implications of that, because it didn't stay in the report.
Usually
But
budget for your own department. So if you have somebody coming up or doing some succession training, you can
Okay.
ask for a little bit more that year or less.
okay, for sure. Okay, thank you.
Did you have something to say, Mr. Schultz, on that?
No, I wasn't aware that there was a particular change, and I think Ms. Lois indicated that there really isn't. And I think we as an organization, each department budgets for anticipated and necessary education, training, recertifications. I don't think there's huge variation year over year. And so I don't expect that this year's budget has any greater amount overall than, say, the prior year or even the year before that.
Ready for the question on the first part, councillors? All in favor? Carries. And the second part, Councillor English?
Your Worship, So number 2, that policy C-5, conferences, seminars, and professional courses expenses be rescinded, and that policy E1, expenses, council appointments out of city be rescinded.
Seconder for that one. Councillor Armando. Any discussion on that one? Ready for the question? All in favor? Carries.
I guess I can bring forward some finance stuff here.
Okay,
Bring
thank you.
forward 9A, that the 5-year financial plan 2017 to 2021, bylaw 21373, be read for a third time.
And a seconder, Councillor English. Any discussion, councillors? Ready for the question? All in favor? Carries. And item B.
We'll bring forward 9B, that the tax rates bylaw number 2176 be read a first, second, and third time.
Seconder for that, Councillor English. Any discussion on that today, councillors? All ready for the question? All in favor? Carries. Okay, so we're moving on to 11A, is that correct? Staff reports under administration. Who wants to bring that forward?
I'll bring that forward. Item 11A, I'll move that the highway use license for 116 First Street West and 120 Connaught Avenue between the City of Revelstoke and E6 Holdings Limited Incorporated, number BC 0155283, for installation and maintenance of a steel canopy be approved.
Seconder on that, Councillor Duke. Any discussion on that?
Just for the public highway background, if they're watching in, this is for a new canopy they're putting at Pam's Kitchen and around the corner to the Tantrum Bike Shop, just upgrading it and improving it. And that's what it's about.
Thank you. Ready for the question? All in favor? 11B, economic development, Revelstoke Air Show. Councillor English.
Bring that forward, Your Worship, thank you. That the non-aerobatic air show provided by the Royal Canadian Air Force's snowbirds be supported, and that the snowbirds be authorized to overfly Revelstoke at altitudes as low as 500 feet on July 26, 2017.
Seconder for that one. Councillor Orlando. Any discussion, councillors?
It's just exciting.
Yeah.
It is.
500 feet seems low, which is exciting.
Over the river.
Yeah.
Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Carries. It is exciting. And 11C, engineering, Big Eddy Water Tender Award. Who wants to bring forward this? Councillor Duke.
11C, that staff be directed to award the tender for Phase 1 works of the Big Eddy Water upgrades to Mounts Construction with a tender price of $2,564,245.90, excluding GST.
Seconder on that one, Councillor English. Any discussion on this? I just want to say it's exciting that that project is moving ahead. And ready for the question? All in favor? Carries. 11D, Parks and Rec. Councillor Orlando.
Yes, I'll bring that forward. I move that staff be authorized to move forward with the arena compressor replacement project as budgeted for in the 5-year financial plan.
Seconder on that one. Councillor English, discussion on this? Just, this is being asked for because you have a tight time frame, Ms. Donato, to get that done, so that it's done before you need the arena for the summer,
That is
which
correct.
has really increased, correct?
Yes.
That's good to see. Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Carries. And under correspondence now, we have the 12A Revelstoke Senior Citizens Housing Society letter. And councillors, what would you like to do here? Councillor English?
If we're going to revisit 10A in our unfinished business, is this something that we can move into there to discuss?
Staff? Did you hear the question that Councillor English was asking if we could deal with this bringing it back under our grants and aid.
Yeah, they could bring it back, so.
So your total budget for grants and aid was 25,000 now?
Right.
And so if we're talking about 18,000, we're going over by
1,800.
Yeah, oh, sorry, and then you've got a recommendation to award 23,800? Got 1,800 to that, you're over 25,000.
Yeah.
Your worship, council could certainly consider whether it wanted to fund this as a one-off grant and aid from council contingency.
Are you okay with that, councilors? Councilor English?
I would be okay with that.
I'm looking for a motion direction.
I would make a motion to that
Okay,
effect.
out of council contingency,
Yeah,
seconder
Councilor
for
Walsh.
that. Councilor Duke. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Good, right thing to do. Okay, correspondence, Revelstoke Community Forest Corporation correspondence. Just, anybody want to make a statement around this?
Just think that this is absolutely fabulous and just want to call out what our CFC has done with the city and the good job that they do at our CFC. And it's just really exciting to see a check for $300,000 to establish a reserve fund with the city for an RCFC project. I think it's absolutely fantastic news.
And I think it's really, really important that it be a legacy project
Absolutely.
that
Yeah, it's great.
everybody can point to. So, well done, RCFC. Okay, now we're on to 12C.
If I could just have one more quick comment
Sure.
on that? Yeah, I mean, there's so many good things about this reserve fund that they're establishing. One thing I'd like to highlight though is sometimes at council we're dealing with, the problem of the day or something that pops up, and that's an important part of the job, but another important part of it is long-term vision and long-term planning, and you look back to, the early 90s when people were getting, probably the late 80s when they were getting RCFC together, and the payoff and the turnaround takes this long to happen, but it's a reminder that that's a real important part of the job, is looking at the long-term goals of the organization, so this is great.
Good. And now we're on 12C, FCM, for Councillor Orlando to attend to Ottawa in June. Need a motion from council.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Duke. And tell us, Councillor.
Yeah, I'd like to attend the FCM conference. It's June 1st to 4th in Ottawa. I spoke with the mayor about it. He was actually interested in attending, but has a personal commitment that's going to overlap with that. I don't know the last time we've sent a council member to FCM. It's been a while. Basically, I'm interested in going to see what there's all about. In this year's conference, they have a few different interesting areas of focus. There's one on wastewater, which is something we're going to be contemplating in the coming years. There's some food production related stuff that I'm interested in, as well as leadership. There's a leadership focus this year, so they have a bunch of different sessions on leadership. And I'm interested in seeing what's there and seeing what's available. It is the biggest gathering of municipal leaders in Canada, and I'd really be interested in attending.
Good. I think that's good to represent us. All in favor? Carries. Good. So we're moving on to 13A, law enforcement quarterly report. Anything to comment on there, councilors? Councilor English?
I just think that it's great that bylaw enforcement is seeing an increase in compliance within the last few months. It's, the message is starting to get out there. It's just, those guys are doing a great job. Just want to make sure that they hear a thank you from us.
Thank you to the bylaw officers and the management of them. Thank you. Questions from the press? David?
Thank you, Your Worship, or Your Acting Worshipfulness. I have a question with regards to the tender for Big Eddy Waterworks. I note that the bid by amounts is over 25% over the $2 million that have been initially decided for that project. What's causing the increase?
The costing's done by an engineering firm that is handling the project. And Mr. Thomas, anything to add to that?
Your Worship, the bid price did come as a bit of a surprise to us. We're sort of working with a number of consulting companies at the moment, working out why the bid prices are higher. We think it may have something to do with how busy Revelstoke is in the summer when you've got construction activities at the same time as Revelstoke's busy. So hotels are more difficult to book out for long periods of time to house construction workers. Price of gas is more expensive here. Price of a lot of things is more expensive here. On the other side of it, there is a lot of federal and provincial money out there at the moment, and that may actually have had the effect of reducing the availability of contractors, so raising the price. So an unintended side effect of the grant funding that we all wish we could get more of is that the prices might actually go up. So we're sort of working with a number of consulting companies and looking at other tenders that they've recently put out across the province and seeing if there's any patterns there. Certainly our prices are higher than what we would have expected if this project were in the Okanagan, lower Okanagan area. Everything from the individual line item unit prices, we noticed that they were that little bit higher to a lot higher on a lot of the items.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I have a supplemental question. Do we have an extra $500,000 kicking around? And what effect could this increase in the costs due to our ability to fulfill other projects?
Yeah, Your Worship, this is the Big Eddy Water project. The way that we've set up the Big Eddy Water as a fund within the city is we're treating it as its own utility. So we're expecting it to be self-sufficient. So saying that, the Big Eddy Water Fund does not have $500,000 of reserve funds to pay for this project, the overall price being $500,000 more. However, and secondly, we're not going to get another $500,000 from the province and the provincial and federal governments to pay for this project. So we can guarantee that we're not getting more money either from the water users, and we're not getting more money from the federal and provincial governments. What we do have is a project that's fairly flexible in its scope, and so we will review the project as we move forward. And I think we always knew that the last phases of the project, we weren't sure what was going to be in and what was going to be out. We looked at it as a 10-year capital plan, hoping to get as much of it funded as possible. And hopefully we can get the main pieces of the work funded through this grant opportunity in the local area service.
So basically, Your Worship, we're going to go through, build the project as far as we can, and then cut certain aspects of it?
At that stage, we might be able to find or look for more funding.
Bid prices for other portions of the work may surprise us the other direction, but that might be overly optimistic.
Yeah, and I think as we move forward, we'll look at each phase as we go and we prioritize the phases. This first phase of work was some of the highest priority work that we were looking at on the project, so I'm glad that we're moving with not necessarily the easiest work, but the highest priority work first. So we know that we're getting, a lot of this project was about improving fire flows, and I can say with some certainty that this particular work will improve fire flows to all of the properties in the Big Eddy. So basically, all of the residential properties will have full residential compliant fire flows. Many of the industrial and commercial properties will have significantly improved fire flows to the point, just with this work, that many of them will be fully compliant with the fire requirements if they were to develop next year. There are still other parts of the Big Eddy that would require more work. We also have priorities that have come up since the grant was applied for, just by us now having our hands on the actual infrastructure. And so we're in the process of discussing with the province what it would take to modify the grant application. We won't get more money, but we may be able to change our priorities within the grant.
Thank you.
Melissa, David stole my questions.
Do you have them written down?
Slap my wrist.
Alex?
Yeah, just a question about the road replacement aspect of this project. The report mentions that, I guess, the plan initially, or was hoped that we replace the roads at the same time as doing this work. Instead, you're just going to be patching over it. So I'm curious, I guess, about the financial impacts, like how much it's costing out of the Big Eddy budget to, do that patching versus if you just replace the roads using a separate road budget, what would that cost? And do you crunch those numbers?
Yeah, I haven't looked in any detail at what the difference in cost is. I think obviously by doing the patching under the Big Eddy Water project, it does cost some more money on the project. But eventually these roads will need repaving in the future. So if we can get a half road or 2/3 of the road done out of this project, and then we do the remaining 2/3 in the future, that would probably be an ideal way that we could make this work.
Do you have a rough idea of how much it would cost to replace these sections of road?
I don't have it off the top of my head. I'd have to have a look at some pre-tender estimates and try and pull items out. It's not that easy. One of the things that we're really hoping for with the project is that we pull most of the waterline work outside of the actual asphalt area. So a lot of our asphalt work is patching across the road. There's certainly areas where we can't work on the edge of the road and we're going to have to work in the road right away, but